Hey guys, welcome to my new channel. I finally stopped being lazy and decided to put together some videos and content focused on live music and performing and trying to put all of that together as there's a lot of moving parts. So today you're going to be seeing and hearing my conversation with Jeremy Hairston, who is a killer guitar player here in DC. We cover a lot of ground. We talk about everything from how he got into playing live. We talk about gear a lot, sort of his journey from sort of the first guitar that he had up through his guitar of choice today. We also just play around with pedals a lot. We play around with one of his overdrives. That's sort of his go-to, as well as my tonebender style fuzz, and get some pretty gnarly tones out of that. It was just a really good time getting to hang out with Jeremy, sit down, talk with him, and just sort of mess around with guitar stuff. All this is super fun, which is why we all do it. I do realize that this video is super long, so I will have it sectioned out so you can skip ahead if you get bored or if a certain section interests you most. Finally, I'm going to ask, instead of just liking and subscribing, you can certainly do those things if you like, but instead of doing that and asking you to just sort of share this video on Facebook and Instagram and other social media platforms to everyone and their mother, literally, I would ask if you could just copy the link and text it to somebody. Just share it with one person who you think would enjoy it. That's sort of the approach I'd like to take in building the community around this channel. I'm not doing this to grow a huge amount of followers. I'm not doing this to try to get YouTube famous or anything crazy like that. I'm doing it just because I truly enjoy music. I enjoy gear. I'm definitely more of a live focused musician, and just want to do this as an outlet to to express that and to nerd out. So if you know someone who would enjoy this video, please just copy the link and share it with them. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Jeremy. And like, when was the first time you performed in front of people, and then like how'd you get to today? I think it was like January 16th or something like that. Man, it's the coldest gig I've ever played in my life. But we were just so eager to get out and do it because
I really missed it like a lot. It's just something that like when it's in you, like you kind of just need to do it.
So talk to me about the Blue Note.
So the Blue Note, it's a light to mid overdrive, mid gain overdrive. It's
dog friendly.
It's dog friendly, hypoallergenic, It's an older pedal. Like it came out maybe like 8 years ago.
Well, see, so many pedals have come out since then that it's not good anymore.
Right.
You know that, right? Dude, I wanted to ask you about this. So you are a PRS Pulse Artist, right? Mm-hmm. Well, congratulations.
Thank
also.
you.
How does PRS in this program support you as an artist? So you have to turn the fuzz all the way up on a tonebender. That's like the thing that you have to do.
Okay.
You just crank it. So we have fans of the program joining us per usual. Piper, all right, so we have the fans of the show are really, really present today. But anyway, tell folks who you are, where you're from, and then the real question, I don't walk through. Yeah, I don't want to, walk through with every single person. Like, tell me your entire life story, but how did you come to start playing music live? And like, when was the first time you performed in front of people? And then like, how'd you get to today?
Okay, so my name is Jeremy. I am originally from Santa Monica, California. Grew up mostly outside of Baltimore. Since I was 4 or 5, so been in Maryland for most of my life. Let's see. Musically, I started playing the trumpet when I was 10 or 11 in 5th grade. It was funny because I asked my mom, like, hey, which I knew I wanted to do like concert band. And so like at that point at my school, you could either choose general music or you could choose like concert band.
Okay. What was the difference? Was concert band like classical, not orchestra, but
yeah,
it's a classical, it's a horns and woodwinds concert band.
Horns, woodwinds, and then percussion. We didn't get strings until later, like in high school. But I knew I wanted to do that rather than just like play with the claves in like music class or whatever. And I didn't like to sing, so I was like, let me just play an instrument.
For sure.
So I was like, Mom, should I play the drums or should I like play the trumpet? She was like, trumpet. I was like, okay, cool. Like that answers that. I guess she didn't want me like banging on drums.
What grade were you in at the time?
This was 4th grade, getting ready to
okay, yeah, so you're like a little kid.
Yeah.
I got you. You're like 10 years old. You're like, Mom, the teacher says I can choose between this and this.
Yeah, exactly. So I had narrowed it down because I didn't like all the buttons on the saxophone. So I was like, the trumpet, it's only 3 buttons. So like maybe that
can't be that hard, right?
It's ridiculously hard, but so I ended up playing the trumpet and I really enjoyed it all through middle school and high school, and halfway through high school, like my junior year, my best friend Dale, he was the guitar player in the jazz band. So I had started playing in jazz band in like 8th or 9th grade. And I liked that a lot because it was like where the music got a little more interesting. Like I actually really do enjoy classical music. Like to this day, I'll listen to Bach, Stravinsky, like anyone. But I like jazz band because my dad is a big fan of jazz. Both my parents actually, and they would like play it when I was a kid. I heard Take 5 when I was like very little, so that song is like ingrained in my head.
Oh yeah.
And so I started playing in jazz band, and my friend played the guitar, and he was in jazz band as well. And I had a guitar, so this is another sort of a tangent story, but I took at my school we had a wood shop, and the shop teacher is a musician as well, like just as a hobby. So he builds guitars.
Perfect.
Yeah, so he's a luthier, and he had a class specifically for guitar building.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy to have that available to you.
Right. Yeah, so
ours, I think like our shop class was like, we had like TSA club. Did you guys have that?
No, we didn't have it.
So there was like a club associated, but it was mainly like, it was more engineering related. It was like, hey, we're going to build, they did some cool stuff. Like they built CO2 race cars.
Nice,
and they built, but it wasn't like, oh, hey, you can come build a guitar.
Yeah. So.
Or something real, that would be awesome. I would have been so into that.
It was really cool. So my school, it was like a K through 12 school. So as a kid in shop class, we would build little toys, little toolboxes, little toy cars, whatever.
Right.
But I would always look and see what the high schoolers were. They were building like electric guitars, and I was like, I didn't really have any interest in playing, but I was like, if that's what I can do like later on, I'm just gonna work towards that.
Because guitar was always cool.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if it was like that. It was always like, I always thought guitar was so cool.
Yeah.
Like, I grew up around the Charlottesville, Virginia. Okay. That sort of music scene, really around Harrisonburg.
Okay.
Shout out to, there was two brothers that were my brother's age. So they were 4 years ahead of me. I think they were spread out. And so I was in middle school watching those guys in high school, and the Garst brothers. I don't even know. They probably don't even know this. Ryan, I know Ryan Garst a decent amount. Incredible guitar player, left-handed dude.
Nice.
Like, his whole family plays. They've always kind of been like those people that can just pick up a guitar, a bass, or whatever, and play it true to form and just absolutely kill it.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was in middle school, Ryan Garst did for one of the football games. You know, small town USA thing is like the home the high school football games on Friday night. It's like what you
that's
do.
The big thing.
That's what people do, right? And I remember Ryan did the national anthem in Jimmy's style of sound, but played it with his teeth.
Oof.
And I mean, I was like, I think I was in 6th grade when he was a senior or junior in high school, whatever, doing this, and I was like, that is the coolest thing.
Like, what is this?
I actually was walking around with my friends, as you do at these things, right? It's like when you get to get out of school and hang out with all your friends and be a knucklehead, like most of us were in middle school.
Of course.
And I remember just hearing it and going, what is that? And then looking and just seeing, like, you know, way in the distance, there was this guy, and I was like, holy crap. And the announcer said something about, like, you know, I can't believe he can play that well, even with his teeth, you know, that kind of thing. It's just crazy. You're seeing that as a middle schooler, and you're like, guitar is so cool, man.
Yeah.
And everybody loves it. Part of it is like you love that people love it too.
Right.
I don't know, but I see the attraction there.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing. You're like, I don't know.
I don't know what it is, but I know I like it.
Yeah.
So that was my 9th grade year when I built that guitar.
Okay.
And so our teacher, Mr. Howard, he took us through like the history of the electric guitar from Charlie Christian, like with the first sort of electric pickup systems and stuff like that in the 30s, and then on through rock and roll in the 50s and 60s and all that. And he played two videos stuck out that he played like while we were just like doing busy work. He played Prince's performance at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, and then he played Hendrix's.
That was with Petty, right?
Yep, with Petty, Jeff Lynne, Danny Harrison, George's son. Yeah,
I remember that solo.
Yep, it was mind blowing. And then he played which song was it? Hey Joe at Monterey Pop Festival. So when Jimmy first came back to the States, and I was just like, I don't know what this is, but I like it. So I would like go home, and I would just like listen. I already liked rock music. Like I would play. I played a lot of video games growing up, so I would find the music on like the soundtracks that I liked. So I was already listening to like Foo Fighters and Green Day and just that kind of stuff. And so I would look up on like Pandora radio, which was like the big thing at the time. Totally. Spotify like hadn't come out yet.
That did not exist.
So I would just like go through the rabbit hole of Pandora, listening to Hendrix, and then I found like Cream and Prince and all that kind of stuff. So I was listening heavy, and finally I would like noodle around at home, just like in private. And finally I was like, hey Dale, like this was my junior year now. I was like, hey, if I bring my guitar in, can you teach me some stuff? He was like, oh yeah, sure, just bring it in. So we sat down like during lunch one day in the music room, and he showed me like an E chord and an A chord, and he showed me like the pentatonic scale, and then it was a wrap after that. So
oh man,
I've been playing ever since, pretty much every day. For a while I would play like for a couple of hours every day, but I try to pick up the instrument every day that I can.
Right.
And so I to answer your question about like when I started like playing in front of people, I was playing in like school concerts in front of people, and then we played like a couple of like outside gigs with my school jazz band, with the jazz combo. So we had like keys, drums, bass, and a couple of horns. And I actually was playing bass in the jazz band last 2 years.
I played bass in the combo too.
Yeah.
In high school. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then the summer between my junior and senior years in high school, I started to play the bass at my church.
Okay.
Because we needed a bass player to fill in, and my the bass player in my in the jazz band was graduating. And so my teacher saw me practicing the guitar one day and was like, hey, would you be able to try the bass?
Yeah.
Would you be willing to play next year instead of trumpet? So I was like, why not?
That's amazing, because I feel like most of the time you hear people having stories about going into like school music program being like, I want to, for me it was, I want to play drums. And it's like they don't want, and like every kid says I want to play drums, right? And so like they didn't want you to do it. Then they would try to steer you some way. Like for me, my dad was a drummer. I started playing, he put sticks in my hand when I was like 3 years old. They bought me a kit for my 4th birthday, and it's like,
that's cool.
You know, I was a latchkey kid, so I'd literally get off the school bus, go home, and play until like my parents basically until my mom got home from work. And so by the time I got to middle school, I was like, hey, I want to play drums. They're like, yeah, sure, kid, like everybody. And I was like, no, you don't understand.
Like, I actually do this.
I really want to, you know, I've always been like, I've always thought I was better than I actually was, but I could actually like play in middle school. You know, I was like, my dad would have me sitting in with his bands and stuff.
That's
like
cool.
If he was doing like an all ages gig, he would have me come out and play like, do like Green Day Basket Case or like, you know, other random songs with his band, or like a, you know, like something easy, like a CCR song or something like that with one of his bands. But yeah, like you don't often hear, hey, you play trumpet, I know, and like you're probably like fine as a trumpet player.
Yeah, I was okay. I wasn't great.
Yeah, but they're like, they never like, oh, hey, you want to play like this cool guitar? Like, that's not like, that doesn't happen to people very often.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, okay, like that's, sure, why not? I don't mind. And I knew at that point that that was my favorite thing to do, like just to play music.
Right.
And so I would spend like those last 2 years of high school, like any free time I had in school, I would just be in the music room. Like the teachers would always just like see me down there practicing some instrument, because eventually I was playing like the trumpet sometimes, and sometimes I was playing the tuba. Sometimes I was playing the bass. Sometimes I was practicing guitar. I should have brought.
They were like, you can read bass clef. Just hold.
They had to teach me how.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had no idea how to.
I thought like maybe you were playing bass guitar already, and they're like, we need a tuba player.
Yeah, they needed a tuba player.
It's not hard to learn when you're that age.
Yeah, I picked it up. Okay, I still don't read notation. Like I haven't read it. I feel
like I have HG burnt in the back of my skull.
Yeah,
yeah, like
that's a good thing.
That stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so. But yeah, so I would just be playing and practicing down there. When I got to college, when I started like playing actual gigs, and I got into a band.
Where were you going to school?
Howard.
Oh yeah.
Howard University. And so I got into a band with some really talented musicians who some of them were in the jazz program at Howard. Some of them were just around campus and liked to play. So we would play different things around campus, in the student center. We played like at little restaurants around campus and stuff like that. And yeah, it might have been my junior or senior year. I got together with a guy named Mark, and he asked me if I wanted to be in a band he was putting together to do some gigs around DC.
This is Mark Soul.
Yeah. So
shout out Mark. Great
shout
singer.
out Mark Soul. Yeah,
amazing singer. Love that dude's voice.
So so we've been playing together since then. Slowed down during the pandemic, obviously, but played a lot with Mark. We would host an open mic. We did for a good like 3 or so years, and it got pretty popular in DC, and it was a cool experience because we would have our own like small set list that we would play as the house band, and then whoever would sign
up singers. Yeah,
they would have a song they want to play, and if we didn't know it, we would like take a little break, take a 5-minute break,
figure it out,
go outside and listen to it, figure out what it was, and then come back up and play it.
Yeah, at least a couple of parts. First part, intro, verse part, chorus, whatever. Yeah, like so enough to.
Yeah, that's how I started really playing live a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, so that is an incredible. So that's one thing I don't hear a lot of people talking about, which I think is incredibly valuable. And I think live musicians are especially, like the best guys you see are the best at figuring out how to play a song.
Right.
Listening to it, figuring out like knowing what you typically do, and kind of figuring out what the chord structure is, what the key, what you're going to follow. Really, as a drummer, I'm still, even as a guitar player, drums being my first instrument, I'm thinking about the roadmap. So as soon as I turn a song on, I'm going, okay, here's where I am, and I'm tracking all the way through, right?
Yeah.
These are the things that I don't hear a lot of folks talking about their approach. So, like, when you're in that situation, how do you figure out a song? Like, what does your brain do?
Sure, yeah. So my brain goes, what key are we in?
Yep.
Because if anything else fails, the guitar usually doesn't have to carry the rhythm.
No,
so I can just noodle in whatever key. I can fill in wherever I need to.
Absolutely true.
If all else fails. So what key am I in? And what I go by the Nashville number system. So that's how I learned to do it in church and how we do it on the gig. So what are the numbers? So are we going 4, 5, 6, 1? Like what are we doing? And then so yeah, that's basically it. Like, what are the numbers of the verse? What are the numbers of the chorus?
And that's not necessarily easy though. If you guys are doing like a lot of R&B stuff, like I know that it's not as clean cut as like rock and roll.
Yeah,
rock and roll you can do like Nashville number system is easy. Like you might see a 3 sometimes.
Yeah.
But for R&B music, it's not like that.
Yeah, there's,
you know what I mean? Because the voicings are so particular.
Yeah, and I'm grateful to have played a lot in church, where this the same
music,
thing where like the numbers can get like flat 7, major or minor 4, like that kind of stuff. Play the 3 over the 1s, that kind of thing, or 1 over 3. So I got to a point where I could sort of like figure those things out, and if I know what key I'm in and I hear play the 3, I know what chord to play.
Right.
So yeah, that made it a lot easier, like that sort of repetition, Sunday in, Sunday out. Learning that way. And I'm glad that at my church, we've always had like musicians who were better than me. So
crucial.
So I would like learn from them, even if it was like the drummer, or the keyboard player, whatever it was, so that I could just like learn how to navigate songs that way. Because sometimes like we may have a set planned out for Sunday morning, and then and the Spirit leads a different way, so you gotta flow with that.
It's super important. Yeah.
So yeah, just like learning on the fly. I learned a lot of that from church, and then just from having to learn on the fly at open mic gigs and stuff like that.
Yeah, man, I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. That's a lot of good stuff. Yeah, I don't know how much to like dive down deep there, but I think that's really crucial. The thing you said about like always playing with musicians more talented than you are.
Yeah.
Was listening to, are you a Vince Gill fan?
I'm aware of who he is and how good he is, but I haven't like dug deep into his music.
Yeah, so growing up in Virginia, like my dad, our family is a little strange because my dad's from New York. He grew up on Long Island and around the city, so he's a Yankee, and he married my stepmom after my day after my 3rd birthday. So I grew up with like, my mom, shout out mom, love you. She lives like right down the street from the house she grew up in. Okay. Right? Like real just Southern culture, like. So I grew up in this weird household where my dad loved funk and rock and roll, which is pretty much what I grew up on. Sure. Everything from like, he's obviously a huge John Bonham fan. He snuck out his thing he always touted was he snuck out of his house and when he was in high school and grabbed the train, and he was actually at the Led Zeppelin Song Remains the Same DVD at Madison Square Garden. He was actually at that show.
That's cool.
When he was like 17 or whatever. His parents were not thrilled. Apparently he called his dad from the subway station and was like, I know you weren't gonna let me go, so just let you know I'm safe. And I think he paid for it when he got home. But that was my dad, a big rock and roll guy, big funk guy. But living in Virginia then, and then having met my stepmom and settling down there, he played in a lot of like Southern rock bands and country bands and that kind of thing. And so I grew up around a lot of that music too. So I had this weird, diverse kind of, I didn't actually like country music very much growing up. Yeah. But man, there's something about Vince Gill when I was like 4 or 5. His voice was incredible. His playing was incredible. And yeah, he's one of those guys that like, he's one of the most incredible guitar players you'll ever hear, because when you actually see him play live now,
The solo he plays on something. It's not that it's like you brought up the Prince While My Guitar Gently Weeps solo, or that performance.
Yeah.
Prince's solo in that, the most amazing thing about it is he maybe plays 5 notes in the whole thing.
Yeah.
He's just like his vibrato is incredible. His showman, he's got he's got his jacket, he's got his collar all popped up, and he's just playing the Telecaster. At one point, he falls back in the crowd,
and the bodyguard catches him.
Yeah, all that stuff. Like, I remember that. I'll never forget that solo. It's like burning my mind. But the amazing thing is, for a majority of that solo, he's maybe playing like 3 or 4 notes, 5 notes, maybe.
Yeah.
Vince Gill's kind of the same way. When you see him solo on something, he is completely in control, and he is playing a lick that you've heard plenty of other people play, but not like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He just has his thing. So I just, grew up
cool.
absolutely loving that. So anyway, got down the Vince Gill tangent. When he put out his record in 2016, it's actually really good. A lot of great tracks on it. I think it's called Down to My Last Bad Habit, I think is what it was called. But he, along with setting out that release, he released it when he turned 60. So he's 60 years old. He also released basically like an album of commentary. So he was talking about like his career, starting with like the Pure Prairie League and a lot of folks coming up. But I remember one of the pieces, he started really young. One of the pieces of advice he gave, he was like, he said, if you are, you show up and you're doing a gig with a band or you're jamming with people, whatever. If you find that you're the strongest musician in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Right. Yeah.
That's like, I heard that in 2016 after kind of unknowingly, I've always been around musicians that were better than me. And then it was kind of hit, we're like, oh yeah, that's probably why I learned so much.
It's a good place to be.
Yeah. But you have to be that way. You got to like put yourself around people where like they challenge you. Because I sat in with Mark's band one time because I'm sure I'm like at the bottom of his call list, but I think you were out of town or something.
Yeah.
Billy couldn't do it, and then you were at the rehearsal. I think, right? So I didn't even get a chance to like that. I think that morning they were like, yeah. He was like, yeah, that's good. You want to come through? Dude, I hadn't even listened to like any of the songs or anything. I show up and I'm trying to learn the parts from you at rehearsal, and I'm like, this is not gonna go well. But playing with those guys and playing on that gig. What was the keys player's name?
Blake. Yeah.
Dude, he's that guy.
Shout out Blake, man. He's a producer as well. He's like going like this in the producing world. But I learned so much from like listening to him play the keys. Just like I know he's studied a lot of just like jazz. Like we would get in conversations about like Oscar Peterson and people like that, Thundercat, and just like just vibing like that. But yeah, he's phenomenal.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that you're playing a song with him. He's playing, but he's not even like he's like he's engaged with other musicians. Right. The song is second nature. The parts are second nature. He's like he's 5 steps ahead of everybody. Yeah. He's in some ways, Mark's obviously the band leader, but Blake kind of is that, right? Getting everybody through. Pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. That's a lot of good background. So let's move on. So what have you been doing lately in terms of gigs? I see this dude, Brian Lee, you've been playing with. Dude, from the videos I've seen, his voice is crazy.
Amazing. Yeah. So I met Brian.
Where's he? Like, what's his?
He's from Woodbridge, Virginia. So he's pretty local, and he's from like Norfolk. Okay. Where my dad's from. But so he lives in Woodbridge, and we met at one of the open mics. He came and performed. And it was funny because one of the first times he came, like a few times, but one of the first times he came, he was like the featured artist and he had his band, but his guitar player couldn't make it. So
perfect.
Every good, the perfect storm.
Every good new gig story is like,
his guitar player couldn't make it, they were playing all these songs that I loved, like all this like Tom Misch and all this like really cool.
So not
like,
just like not R&B standards or anything.
Right,
was,
exactly.
Yeah.
And so I was like, hey, like I know most of those songs. Like you want me to want me to sit in with you guys? And he was like, yeah, sure, come on.
Because as you mentioned, you don't actually need to like, as a drummer, you need to know the roadmap of the song.
Right.
You need to know the breaks. You need to know, as a guitar player, you can fake it till you make it.
Yeah,
a lot more.
And even like even some of the songs like I had never played on a gig before, but those are songs that I would just play to at home. So like the one I remember the most is a song by Tom Misch called "I Wish," and I'm a huge Tom Misch fan. He like listening to him changed the way I approach the instrument and how I approach soloing and stuff, especially on R&B music. But
what's up, Winnie?
Hey, Winnie. Yeah, so I knew the song by heart, like the record. Like I could play that whole record, like without even thinking about it. And so I got up and played with him, and that was dope. And then maybe like a few months later, his drummer called me and was like, "Hey, we're doing a So Far show." I think it was.
His drummer wasn't Yusuf Days, but yeah.
No, right.
I know that whole record's amazing too, but yeah.
His drummer's Reggie. He's also a dope drummer, and so he called me up and was like, "Hey, we're playing a So Far gig. Can you make it?" So I was like, "Yeah, sure." So that was the first time we played like outside of the open mic, and yeah, so we just started playing a few more gigs. We actually played Pearl Street Warehouse last year before the pandemic. So it was like January or February, and that was a lot of fun. And yeah, we've been playing a bunch of like So Far shows and like duo gigs and stuff this fall, which has been cool because stuff is starting to like really open back up. I played a few gigs like last fall, like 2020, as people thought things would be opening up.
Right. We were just chomping at the bit.
Yeah. Everyone was so eager.
Yeah, I played I think it was January. It might have been when was that? Yeah, I guess it was January 2021. I think it was like January 16th or something like that. Man, that's the coldest gig I've ever played in my life. And it was at because obviously outdoors was one of the only venues that you had.
Yeah.
And so it was at the State Theater in Falls Church. Okay. You know, they're putting bands in the parking lot out there. You know, when the other dude was singing, you know, and in that band I was singing about half the songs. And so whenever, you know, the bass player who owns his band, you know, I'd be like reaching for the heater, kind of heating my left hand up, like really trying. Just so eager to get out and do it because
I really missed it like a lot. It's just something that like when it's in you, like you kind of just need to do it. So been playing with Brian. We actually have a show. This will have gone up on YouTube way after the show, but on Sunday we're playing a show.
Yeah, we don't run a very tight ship around here.
It's all good. So yeah, that's been a lot of fun. I played a gig with Mark actually. He actually relocated to Atlanta.
I heard. Yeah, I saw him at So I think last time I saw Mark was at Chiquete's release party for Grown Men. And you weren't there.
Yeah, I couldn't make it.
I remember because I know there was like different people in and out. So like me and John Days came on Friday for that session, hung out, and I think you know John.
Yeah. He plays. He did, right?
Yeah. So I had him on too. So I got to talk to him while he was on the road. We did a Zoom call, which was fun. But so me and him came on Friday, and I know like Saturday and Sunday I had stuff. I had a gig Saturday. Sunday I've got church stuff, just no good. Yeah. So but there was a whole different crew Saturday and Sunday. Okay. So I had never even heard like probably 7 or 8 of the songs on there. Okay. So, but man, we were at the release party. Mark was there, and I knew him. I think I had filled in for you guys at that point, or filled in with his band at that point. So I knew him and whatever. And man, we were listening to. So we were talking you up because there's some of those there's some parts on a couple of those songs. I forget what song it is where you have a decent lead in it.
Yeah, it's Preacher's Daughter.
Yeah, I think that's right. Dude, it was Bill. I'm like, we're listening to the track, listening to the lead. I look over at Billy, and he just looks at me and goes, he's like, Jeremy's cold, bro.
Shout out cold. Billy, man.
Yeah. It was That's just funny. We were just sitting there like, because it is. And, you know, the other, like, you talk about, you know, like, you talk about Prince, you talk about Vince Gill, we've already talked about, like, you have something that a lot of those guys have.
I appreciate that.
And that is when you're doing your thing, and it really actually comes out with the duo gigs, with the videos I've seen. You're covering rhythm, you're covering lead, whatever you do, like, you can tell that at least it feels this way. You're definitely putting it all out there. Like, you're a great performer, but I know that, like, you're on the gas like 80%. I know there's more in the tank that you could, like, tear up and get, but you're giving it the perfect amount, and every little thing is just like you just own it. Like, when you the way that you execute things is like it's just so clean.
Thank you,
like, man, that is respectable. That's where I can tell, like, dude, this guy's done his homework.
I appreciate that.
You know? Yeah. That's solid. So Brian stuff's kicking up. You were doing stuff with a female artist too recently, or no?
My sister. Yeah.
That's your sister?
Maya Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my sister. Huh. We have the same parents. She's a singer-songwriter, and she just released her second project, which is really cool. It's an EP. And it's meant for, like, introspection.
Okay.
So it's called Space to Fill, and it's these songs she wrote sort of in the past few years, going through some life challenges and stuff.
I get it.
And just and needing a way to express how she was feeling. And it's a really, really cool project. I'm really proud of it. I played all the guitars on it. Produced by our good family friend Rob Levine in Baltimore, and yeah, it's really good stuff. It just came out. It's on all the streaming platforms and stuff.
That's cool. That makes a lot of sense, because it's so cool, because she was like posting you playing, or maybe it was a studio session or something.
Yeah.
She's like, this is my favorite guitar player.
Yeah,
that's so cute, man. Like,
she's very
it's cool to be able to do stuff with family. That's awesome. My brother and I could never play in a band together.
No.
Like, we like to hang out, but, like, growing up, we just had two very, you know, when it came to, like, I was much more of a live musician than he was, probably. Okay. And, you know, he was one of those guys. He was probably a better guitar player in high school from a technical perspective and from a theory perspective than I'll ever be in my life. But when it came to, like, trying to jam with people, like, we were just like oil and water. Like, this didn't work. So I'm glad that you guys can do that and kind of share that.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Let me know about dates and stuff. I want to come out and see you. All right. So switch gears a little bit. All right. So this is a gear question that I ask everybody.
Okay.
So you get a call to play for an artist that you've never played with before.
Okay.
They say, hey, Jeremy, I heard you're the guy. I know what you... So he knows what you do. His band kind of does that thing. But he says, the gig's tonight. It's at this venue. There's a backline amp. You don't know what it is. So you put your guitar on your back. And you know you're going to show up and there's going to be a backline amp there. No idea what it's going to be like, right? We've all kind of been in that situation where you walk in and go,
right?
Or
it's like a deep sigh.
Might not be that bad. You have two hands, so your guitar's on your back. You can grab two pieces of gear with your hands.
Okay.
So you grab something, not counting tuner, cables, all that stuff. Imagine that's already there, right? But you have two pieces of gear to grab. To take with you to the gig to make it happen.
Does my whole pedal board count?
No, you can't. No.
Okay.
You grab two things off of it.
Okay.
Billy cheated. He said, I'll take the Kemper. And I was like, that's a great... I was like, honestly, we were like, you don't even need a second in that case. Yeah. It's almost like cheating. You could take the expression pedal and actually do a lot, but... Yeah.
Okay. So I'll take my 2 Notes Captor X.
Okay.
And I'll take I'll take a drive pedal.
Which one?
I'm stuck between my Mythos Mjolnir and my my J Rockett Blue Note. I'll go with the Blue Note.
Okay.
Because if I don't know what amp it is, I don't know if I want like.
Oh yeah, you can't just show up with a clon style drive.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you. Yeah.
The Blue Note's cool because it has a switch for like the hot switch is like it gives you like a little mid hump with more drive.
But you got options,
and then you can just make it more transparent if you want to as well. So yeah, I'll go with those two. Because if it's, I usually don't have to be too concerned about reverb if I'm just like fitting in the mix.
I almost use no reverb now.
Yeah.
I used to lay a lot, but I almost never. I used to use it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I don't know what amp is being played, that's probably what I'll do, just so that if it's an amp that I can crank and get some nice drive out of, then I can do that with the attenuator on the 2 notes.
Yeah. So talk to me about that. So I'm familiar with the aux.
Okay.
Is it like that? Is it like the aux?
It's like the aux. So it's you run the line from the amp, from like preamp and power amp. It goes between the speaker and the amp, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
And you can run a line out. You can run 2 lines out. You can run a line to your monitor and then one to front of house.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all
Can
kind
you
of
control the levels independently for that?
Yeah.
That's what I love about this.
Yeah. So so that's I take that, and my amp, like I have a Tone King Imperial, like that's what I'll take to all my gigs. And I'll still use the 2 notes just to send a line straight out.
Yeah, because you're eliminating the inconsistency of throwing, even if you have a great guitar mic, you have a 906 or something, you're eliminating the, me or someone else on stage accidentally bumped into the
mic. That has happened plenty of times.
Or just, you don't have time to like actually get that thing set exactly where you want it. If you're gonna roll the dice, the load box is gonna sound better.
Yeah, and so I've been on like so many front of house guys ask if I have a line out, like, and I'm like, do you see this amp? Like, it's a tube amp. Like, I don't have a
yeah.
But now that I have the 2 notes, I'm just like, yeah, I've got it right here. Just like, just give me your XLR.
No, but I'm with the band I'm playing with. It's a lot of like weddings and corporate events and that kind of stuff. And I'm showing up there, and so it's a lot of like professional sound companies, and we don't like lugging our own stuff because we're lazy, and the agency will set everything up. So we show up, and I've had people try to mic my cab before, which they don't know I'm going out of my Kemper and the power amp into the cab, and so I have the opposite problem where they're still like confused when because I run with the Kemper stage, my line out is at the front of the stage, so I would just run my mic and run my guitar together, and I'll and they're like, how are we gonna mic your guitar cab with an XLR at the front of the stage? Like they're like, it's like you just see the steam rolling out. So you've got the opposite thing where they're like expecting like you're gonna show up with a HX Stomp or something.
So I haven't had any issues with that since I got it last year or so. And
I've heard amazing things about that. Like if you're a lover of tube amps but also want the consistency.
The only downside is that you have to make sure the ohms are correct on the for like the speaker load. So like all of my amps are 8 ohm speakers, so it works. So I have the 8 ohm version. The aux is like twice as much, if not more, than the captor. So but it also has a little more flexibility with ohms. So
and a lot of like impedance is one of those like topics that you can get down a rabbit trail with quick, because from an engineering perspective, I certainly don't understand it, but like when you actually start talking about what it actually means, all I really know is like the lower ohms the speaker is like I have the Celestion Kemper Cone, the Kemper speaker in that thing. We'll play it and pull some guitars out here in a few minutes, but it's 4 ohms. 4 ohms gets loud. my dumb, electrical engineering ears, I know nothing. So low ohms means it's you have to watch how much power you're pushing to it. Anyway, not the rabbit hole I want to get down, but that's cool. So you just basically have to watch out that it's gonna play nice with the speaker and the amp.
Yeah, basically.
But you still are hearing the amp on stage.
So you can
do either or.
You can do either or.
So you can run to the speaker in the combo. You have the Tone King combo.
The combo, yeah.
Yeah. So you can basically route to the speaker that's in there.
Yeah.
The 112 or whatever. And then route XLR front of house.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's basically my setup. I'm almost scared to get down that rabbit trail because I love tube amps and I don't want to start buying them again.
That's real.
You know what I mean?
I have a list of tube amps that I want to buy. I actually want to get the I want to try one of the Tonemaster amps from Fender.
Yeah.
Because who doesn't love a deluxe reverb?
You know which one's gonna get me?
What's that?
The Super Reverb Tonemaster's
I played that a couple of weeks ago on Guitar Center.
Did it have 10s in it? It had 4 10s in it?
Yeah. It's still a Super Reverb. Like, it's still big and it's still very
heavy.
loud.
It's not going to be as heavy,
It's
though.
not quite as heavy. It's heavy. Like, it's
a 410.
It's a 410, so it's maybe like 45
It's not
pounds.
like hauling around Old DeVille.
Yeah,
I
it's
had
not
a
like
410
70
DeVille in
pounds
the
or-
past.
Yeah.
I think it was probably like 80 pounds, dude. That thing.
Yeah.
It could have. You could have told me it was 140 pounds, and I'd have been like, "That sounds right."
Right.
It's accurate. The thing, like, it's basically you just don't want to move it.
Yeah.
So the Super Reverb, how is it?
It's very good. I had to play.
No,
I was in the.
Don't tell me that.
I was in like the platinum room, like the little one of the rooms where you can close the doors, basically.
Oh man!
I turned it on, and it felt. I was sitting like right in front of it. I didn't blast it, but I played it at a decent volume, and it felt amazing.
Because that's the real thing. It's the response. It's the way that it feels to play. Mm-hmm. I've heard good things about those amps, but for me, like the deluxe, I love deluxe reverb, but it's just I'm not gonna buy one.
Yeah,
they're great, but I'm not. I might buy a real Princeton. I don't need a Tonemaster version of a Princeton, right?
Yeah, no one needs.
But the Super Reverb or any of those 60 watt or whatever, 50 watt 410 amps, like they might get me with that.
Yeah, and I'm considering the Tonemaster Deluxe because. So like the Tone King has 2 channels. One is like a Tweed Deluxe, and one's like a 64 Deluxe reverb.
Yep. Yeah, and, I played one of Chuck Levin's a while back. They had like a teal and white one, head and combo or head and cab combo.
Yeah, so like that was my dream amp, and I was saving up for like a Mesa.
We were talking about this Fillmore.
Yeah, the Fillmore. Yeah.
You can play Fillmore today if you want.
That would be cool. They have I've played one at Guitar Center as well. I played the film. They have the one in Rockville near me. They have a Fillmore, a couple of Fillmores. They have a couple of Cali Tweeds in there.
Dude, I love that amp.
Beautiful.
I love that amp.
I'll buy the Cali Tweed over the Fillmore any day. Having played them,
it's a lot more versatile, right?
Yeah.
Because I think I was telling you I have Tone Junkie. Shout out to those folks. They put out the Cali Tweed and the Fillmore at the same time, and I remember even playing the Kemper profiles for a decently gainy. I would have I'd play the Fillmore 50 for like my second gain stage.
Sure,
like it's not just edge of breakup. I like it overdriving. Sounds amazing, but the clean tones for me were like.
Yeah.
For the same thing of like, I'm not gonna. It's not this drastic, but like, I'm not gonna like try to run a Plexi super clean.
Right.
It's the same kind of thing where like you love it. The overdriving thing doesn't need to be absolutely cranked, but like that's its sweet spot.
Yeah.
Whereas the Cali Tweed, the profiles were great, but I've actually played one in person too. And I like it on the 30 watt setting.
Yep.
So plenty of headroom there for pedals and everything else. Man, that amp is good.
It's
super
ridiculously
versatile.
good, yeah. And so I ended up buying the Tone King because I found a good deal on Reverb, and the guy, he was very gracious about like the shipping costs and everything, and it's basically like everything that I wanted. And I had my eye on him for years. But for like I was saying, for the Deluxe, for the Tonemaster Deluxe, like my tubes started dying like in the Tone King a couple of weeks ago, and I had to order a set from Germany. It was like $260.
I've heard the tube shortage is like a real thing right now.
It's a real thing. Like I couldn't find them anywhere like in the States, and these Tube Amp Doctor, the German company, they had a set like of like quality tubes, and the guy who
what brand are they? They're like they have their brand.
Yeah, they make them themselves.
Very cool. You trust German engineering, I'm sure.
Right. I have a Volkswagen, so you already know.
My wife has one too. Yeah.
So yeah, I bought those tubes, and they're great. Like I got them in the mail, but I was like, man, if I don't feel like I need to play this particular amp at every single gig, if I could have the deluxe thing, which I really like.
Takes pedals so well too.
It takes pedals so well. I love to just like turn it up a little bit, like to five or six on a deluxe
on
for
volume.
Me. Yeah,
master at like 3 or something is plenty.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and yeah, it's where I feel at home a lot. So
because you use your volume knob, you ride.
I'm a volume knob guy all day long. Yeah. So yeah, I'm considering just like investing in one of those just to have it in case I need to go somewhere where I don't really want to take the Tone King because it's kind of expensive, and where
you don't have to take the Captor X then either.
Right, exactly.
Plug it in the back.
Yep. And so I have an old Blues Junior that I had to use that as a backup.
There's one right there.
Yeah, mine's like, I see yours as the 3. Mine was like the original, like from the 90s.
Okay, and, cool.
It's cool, like it works, but that's about it. That's all I have to say about it. So
they were so hit or miss. Like I don't know if you've ever played like different ones, but even the 3s, I thought I hated them because I played one. It was a 3, but it was a tweed version. It was tweed covered, whatever. And I played. I was like, this thing's awful. And then my friend had a Blues Junior 3, and I was like, oh, yours actually sounds pretty good. And he's like, well, I replaced the speaker. And like years later, now I know that a speaker is like 75 at least % of what you're hearing. Like, And so then, but I found this one. It has some weird version of a G12 selection in it, and I was like, that amp sounds really great. Yeah. But I've heard that my experience is like a widespread thing, that they're just, the quality is so hit or miss. It's the same thing with like Hot Rod Deluxes. Some of them are amazing, and then other ones are just dogs. Yeah.
So like when I can crank mine up and like really, I'll put it on like 9 or 10 with the PR. It sounds ridiculously good. But for all the clean stuff I like to do, it's not really great. So
I hear you.
But another deluxe would be perfect. I also am gassing for a Victory V40 Deluxe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I hear those on the internet all the time, and they sound great.
I think they were toying with putting out a 100-watt version of that circuit?
They do,
too.
Yeah. They have one out there.
Oh yeah. I bet that would be amazing.
It would. It's way entirely too much like volume, but they have a really good master on there, and all the headroom in the world. So
see, I like running. I stack drives a lot. And so normally my highest rhythm guitar gain stage, I have normally a boost and like 2 overdrives on. Yeah. So I gotta have headroom like that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But whereas the Victory, honestly, the Tone King for me was kind of that way. Yeah. It's not a super clean amp.
Oh, no, it's not. Yeah, I mean, I have humbuckers like that I play 99% of the time. So once I'm past like 3.5 volume wise, I start to break up, which I like. I like my amp like right there, like 3.5. But not the most headroom, especially if you have it attenuated. It has an attenuator built in. If you have it
on like 10 watt, it's like
it'll break up pretty easily. But on a gig, like I've never run out of headroom when I needed to. But if you like to play like quietly and you need like headroom, which is kind of counterintuitive, but if you need tons and tons of headroom, that's not your amp.
Well, for me on a gig, it's when I so if I have a clean boost after my drives, or I have my third drive and the either way the volume's way up.
Volume's up.
I want I need like extra decibels of sound. That's why I'm doing that, right? So, but there's nothing worse than like cutting that on and it becomes this distorted mess, and you're just like, oh, my lead, which I actually need to like roll the volume back a little bit and have kind of clean, like just there's no headroom for it.
Yeah.
Maybe I just have like fear because I've had that happen to me so many times that I'm like,
that's a real thing.
That's why I play a 50-watt Marshall before I went to the Kemper, and that was my thing. It was like plenty of headroom, great amp. Yeah, but the Victory 40-watt, I bet probably has enough. I'm probably
40 is enough headroom for me because I never run out of headroom, and I have the Tone King's like 20 watts, I think. So like that's plenty for what I've done so far, at least.
Yeah, cool. Well, that's fun. So you're taking, at any gig, you're just gonna take a drive pedal and the box. Let's talk about the drive pedal. You talked about, so it's the Blue Note.
Yeah, the Blue Note.
What is that
J Rockett.
thing?
So
the way that you talk about it, I'm thinking about. I'm a huge fan of the Timmy.
Okay, yeah.
I have 2 of them. I'm just nutty like that. So I've got. I think that one's on. That's the one I've had for a long time. The mint green one. And then I bought the red one because there are. They don't really, you can't really think of Timmy's with the, people talk about the versions, version 1, version 2. There's really not. It's like, if it has the dip switch on it, it's the version 2 basically. And the other one has an internal. Other than that, there are circuit differences. So these two have, I fell in love with that one, and then that one has like that's the hyped one. Everyone's like, oh, the mint green one has amazing chips, and the op amp is amazing, and whatever. I don't know, but this one has a different circuit, so I was like, it was on Reverb, great price. I love the color. I like bright stuff, and it was just like, I'm buying it. It sounds like the Blue Note's kind of like that for you, where it's low to pretty. It's got a lot of, that thing actually has a lot of gain. EQ tweakability is awesome. I have clipping options. It sounds like the Blue Note is kind of like that for you, where
so
multi-purpose.
I actually have it in the bag too, if you want to see it. But
dude, pull it out real quick.
All right, so this is the Blue Note. It's kind of dusty. It's been on.
You stick it right in that camera right there.
There we go.
All right, cool. So talk to me about the Blue Note.
So the Blue Note, it's a light to mid overdrive, mid gain overdrive. It's
dog friendly.
It's dog friendly, hypoallergenic. It's got a gain, a volume, and then you'll see the fat switch and the tone switch.
Okay.
So the knobs. So the tone works like a tone treble, basically.
Right.
The fat switch is like a low mid kind of thing. So like I'll bring it like around here with this guitar. If I'm playing a Tele or a Strat, I'll bring it up maybe here. If I really want it like to goose it, then I'll turn it up. But
so basically, it's adding body.
Yeah, basically.
The more it's adding fatness. So
and then it's got this hot switch in the middle. So they have a version that's smaller, and they're like smaller, like silver enclosure, where you've seen like the what's their clone?
I have no idea.
They have the Archer, J Rockett.
Oh, okay.
The Archer.
Yeah. So
same company.
Because they actually used to make that for the dude. They actually produced the Klon.
Yeah, exactly.
They produced the KTR.
Yeah, the KTR.
Yeah.
And so I had an Archer, and I got rid of it because I just wasn't using it. But so they have a hot switch on this one, the smaller one that's in the same enclosure as the Archer. They don't have a hot switch. I don't know. I don't really know why, but the hot switch basically gives you more gain, and it gooses the mid range.
Okay.
So
I like that.
So if you really need to come up, I've gotten really adept at like messing with the knobs with my toes.
Yeah.
And I wear boots a lot.
Me too.
So like
I wear those boots like, right there like most gigs of Broward. I wear this like most gigs. Yeah.
So I'm good at, I drive a stick, so I'm like always doing stuff with my feet, so I can like, I'm
a drummer, so I
but I heard this pedal the first time. I had seen it online. It's an older pedal, like it came out maybe like 8 years ago.
Well, see, so many pedals have come out since then that it's not good anymore.
Right.
You know that, right?
Yeah.
Like there are plenty of other pedals.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, it's like the Timmy. It's like, that was 2013. Okay.
Exactly.
It's not. No.
There's so much more you could buy.
So it's tried and true though for you.
And I actually just got this like a few months ago. So I heard it. This guy named Jacob Choi. He's actually Korean, and I follow him on Instagram and stuff. And I heard his tone, and I was like, "What in the world? Like, what is that? How do I get that sound?" So for the longest time, I was using another pedal by J Rockett called the Dude.
I know the Dude well.
Yeah, like the Dumble sort of thing.
Yep.
And I had the version, the first version. So like the volume knob, it's almost like Hot Rod Deluxe, where like you just touch the volume just a little bit, and you're just like way over.
Yeah. Their pedals are all like that. Even though I've played the Melody Drive, I'm a big Lethierry fan. So that pedal's amazing. But yeah, it can give you a ton of extra volume.
Right. And so I still have it. It's just not on the board at this time. But it was too much gain, too much volume, and I wanted something a little more manageable. And so
hate to use buzzwords, but like it's not a transparent overdrive.
It's not. Yeah, no.
So like when
really
it's on,
not.
it's it's
Yeah. So this one actually can be pretty transparent. Like I can use it as a clean boost.
I'm not saying either is good, by the way. I like drives that sometimes is like I just need you to like work.
Yeah. And sometimes that's what you need. Like you need something to change what your sound is doing.
Yeah. They're effects pedals.
Right. And so like I like this one because when this switches down and it's not in the hot mode, it's more transparent. So I'll play, like if I'm playing like a cleaner sound, I'll have the gain like maybe around here with the volume and the fat and the tone just like right in the middle. There we go. Like so.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, for a cleaner sound. And then I'll switch the hot switch on and it's not transparent at all, and it's just like a really big sounding overdrive.
Dirty.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's real cool.
Nice. I like that.
It gives me the feeling of like a Robin Ford type tone, which I thought the Dude would give me, but it didn't do that as well as I thought it would.
Yeah. So have you ever bought a pedal? Was the Dude like this, where like you hear videos of it online, you've bought it, I know you go through pedals a lot too, so but was the Dude like a pedal that you bought, you're like, man, this is gonna be my thing, I can tell, I'm gonna love this, and then you get it and like it's a great sounding pedal, but it's just not like you're not able to rely on it, or it's just not quite what you thought it was gonna be.
I think the Dude, when I first got it, I was in love with it. Like I really liked it a lot. It was like, it felt almost like an amp in a box type pedal.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And then I got an amp that I really liked, and I didn't need the amp in a box.
Sure.
So
you might use it with like a deluxe reverb tonemaster though.
Right, exactly.
That you can change into whatever you want.
And at the time, I had a PRS Sonzera amp, which is they're like 20 watt like little combo. And so like my pedals all play differently through that amp than they do through the Tone King, which is kind of why I've switched my pedal board up a little bit since I've got it. But I think over time, the Dude just like fell out of favor with my ears. The pedal that actually did do what you're kind of describing is the Archer. So I heard the Archer so much, and I like, obviously, like clones are such a big like mythical thing, blah blah blah. Yeah. And I was like, this will be like the pedal of all pedals, and it just wasn't. I used it for a while, and it was useful to me. Like I would stack it with other pedals and use it as a clean boost. But it just like didn't. I wasn't in love with it, so I sold that and bought a Mythos Mjolnir, which is a similar type of circuit. Like
it's a clone based circuit.
Yeah, it's based on the same thing, but the guy who builds them, Zach, he like tweaked it a little bit, and he has different versions. He has like the Wildwood version. He has different types.
Yeah.
But that one I really do love. So yeah.
Yeah, my Klon pedal that I love is that white one right there.
I was looking at that earlier.
That's the Pro Analog Devices Manticore. So Scotty, who started Pro Analog Devices, I don't know what's going on with them, because he kind of like I don't know if you went MIA is the right term, but kind of like disappeared a bit.
Okay.
I have a feeling like maybe he sold the design to a couple. He seemed like he had a good business mind from videos I've seen of him. I think maybe he sold the circuit to a bigger manufacturer or something, and maybe we'll see it come out. But, you know, beginning of 2020 even is when the Constellation, he had put out version 2, which are, I have them around here. The gold one, I have 2 of his. Okay. That's hilarious.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm ridiculous. I have 2 of the gold ones, because I fell that much in love with it. And then I found the Constellation, which is like version 1.2. He put it out at the beginning of 2020 because people were basically like, version 1 was so amazing. Even though, honestly, they do the same thing. Right. They really do. If anything, the version 2, it's more versatile. But version 1 looks better.
Yeah,
it's a better looking pedal, and it's great. It's a pretty pedal, but that's the same thing for me. Like I tried a lot of Klon style drives that I didn't like. I honestly recently I had the Tumnus Deluxe from Wampler. Yeah, that pedal's amazing. I found that the Pro Analog devices could give me the same thing, but actually has less noise. Okay. The Wampler, the cool thing about the Tumnus is he's not just trying to replicate a Klon. Like when you get into the gain circuit, it's its own thing. It's a different style drive. I just liked it because it's lower noise, and I use the Klon as an always on, like first stage drive thing. But yeah.
So I've got on my board like most people will put like their cleaner drive after like the dirtier one.
Not me.
Not me either. So I'll put this one after the Mjolnir, and I like the way it just like saturates the tone a little bit more, and I can still get a volume boost like if I turn on the clone before. But I like how it saturates the tone like more. That's what I want when I kick on an extra gain stage. Like I want more saturation. Yeah. Rather than necessarily more volume. Yeah. There are ways that I can get more volume out of my board if I need to, but I also use the volume knob on my guitar, so like I'm rarely at 10. Like I'll ride it like my 7 or 8.
I'm rare if ever at 10 on this thing because the pickups are so. I want to hear you play that thing in a second, but like the PRS pickups are so if you're looking at like the EQ, like the frequency response of a pickup, they have a lot of breadth, I guess. They have a lot of like, you know, higher frequency information, but they're very balanced. But there's so much high end with those, at least with these. This has 5708s in it. I have a 5708 in my green Strat. I play a lot. But there's so much high end information that you almost have to like have to reel them in a little bit, which I like because I like always having more at my fingers than I think I need.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm the same way. I like to know that like if I need more, then it's there. So I'll set my amp up that way. I'll set the pedals up like to play accordingly, so that like if I need to just like goose the volume a little bit, I can do that. Yeah. And I like that I can like for this guitar especially, I found that the tone is really useful. Like it doesn't just like make it super dark as soon as you touch it. Right. I have an SG Standard from 2013 or 2014.
That's one guitar I've never owned that I like.
It's a pretty sick guitar. Like I played it for several years as my main guitar, and I still have it because it screams like when I need like a crunch sound, like that will do it. Yeah. And I put a Bigsby on it, and it's a cool guitar. But the pickups I found like when I was trying to play clean stuff, and I wanted to just like I wanted to be a little more delicate. And I just couldn't get that sound out of those pickups. They're 57 Classics.
I know those well. I've had them in a lot of. I'm a big fan of the Korean Epiphones. Yeah. I've had a Sheridan, a couple Dots. They're great guitars. Oh yeah. Because you can find them right now everything's crazy, but like you can find one of those Sheridans or Dots for like $350. Yeah. You know, $375 under sub $400. Yeah. And it is one of the best guitars that you can lay your hands on for probably less than like $800, I would think, easily. Sure. And so I don't know if you've ever, don't ever swap pickups on one of those guitars. Pay somebody to do it for you. It's a pain. But I put 57 Classics in the Sheridan I had. so I know them well. Yeah, they're incredible, but they get dark really quick.
They do, and they're spiky when they're all the way up too. So
yeah,
and it's also just like the SG is it's a thin sounding guitar.
Yeah,
and it works for what it needs to do. But this one I found a little more versatile. So
yeah. So question about the SG. Never owned one.
Okay.
Wanna own one.
Cool.
Like, I'm down with that. That's great. Do you, because you play a Tele too, right? You have a red Telecaster.
That's the one I built
some of your videos.
in high school.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. That's the guitar. Okay, so yeah, you're like, it's not just some like, crappy woodshed guitar. Like, I hear that. My Green Strat, I actually, I wouldn't say I even built it. I didn't go that far. I assembled it.
Okay.
And then I had Phil Tone in Baltimore pluck it and do the fret work.
Cool.
Amazing. So that's a guitar that is my favorite live guitar, because I wanted to. The goal was build something I can play all night.
Yeah, that's when I see you playing the most too.
Yeah. Because that's. Yeah, when you know how it is. Like, a guitar like that, I know exactly what's going to happen. Because I've heard that an SG almost is the approach of like, when I bring my Telecaster, here's why, and it's for this, and and I've heard the SG is kind of similar. Do you find that to be true?
I think, I think so. I played it as my main guitar. I had that, and I had a Mexican Strat, which I sold to Blake actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I use it as my main guitar, and I can get what I need to out of it. And for a while I felt good about like how I was getting, like the sounds I was getting out of it. But I could always feel there was something that wasn't quite like where I wanted it to be on that guitar. So I couldn't quite get the neck to clean up the way I wanted it to. The bridge was a little too hot for me. Like, it was just too spiky, so like I would roll the tone off a little bit and it would just die out.
Yeah, so like the neck, you roll up the tone because you want it to clear up,
right?
And you'll roll up the tone, roll down the volume, but it just doesn't, like, it's just not, it's dull or it's spiky. That's kind of it. Yeah.
And maybe like a custom shop SG or like a Tom Murphy one would maybe do that a little better with better pots and stuff. I'm not much of a tweaker that way, so like the one thing I did to that guitar, or two things I did to it, I put there's three things. I put locking tuners on it, and I put the
Bigsby on.
I put the Bigsby on, and I had,
you drill holes and everything, or was it?
No, it's got the
Vibramate
plate thing. Yeah, the Vibramate.
Yeah. I've never put one. I don't know why I know that. I've never had an SG, never put a Bigsby on a guitar. It's just,
it's a pain if you have to drill holes and stuff. So I did those two things, and I had someone do the Peter Green mod on it, because I'm a huge Peter Green fan.
Okay.
And I didn't have a Les Paul. It does sound different than Peter Green's Les Paul, because it's not a 59 Les Paul, but
sure.
But it has a cool sound. But yeah, to answer your question, I do think it's a little more of not a niche guitar, but it's to cover as much music as I have to cover and as I do cover.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite cutting it. Some of my favorite players are SG players. I'm a Derek Trucks fanatic.
Yeah,
I've seen Tedeschi Trucks band like 4 times. I've met him. Super nice guy, but phenomenal guitar player. And all he uses is like his amps, his Alessandro amps with his Super, and then his like Dickie Betts SG, and his hands, right? Which no one else has those hands. But, yeah. So if that's what you're doing, if that's the kind of music you're making, then an SG as your only guitar like is perfect.
It could work.
Yeah. Or if you're in an AC/DC cover band or whatever. But for like R&B and more clean stuff,
so you're telling me I'd probably love the bridge on it. I would love a lot of that, but I would probably need to do something with the neck or just not buy one. All right.
Yeah.
So have you played the S2 McCarty 594?
I haven't played those yet.
I heard that's like, it's similar to an SG from what I heard.
Yeah,
because you got so we'll see that in a second. You got the McCarty, the full 954 semi-hollow, but I heard the S2. Whereas this is more like I don't know, I could be totally talking out of my rear end. Sure. I've heard that the 594 is sort of like a double cut Les Paul. It does more of a Les Paul thing. I heard the S2 is like an SG sort of equivalent.
They have a single cut and a double cut 594 S2 version, and then they have the thin line S2. Okay. Which is like the SG. It's all mahogany, so there's no maple cap on it.
Got it.
And that's the one that's more like the SG. I haven't played them. I imagine
it might work for you. It might be what you want.
It honestly might. Yeah. The other thing about the SG is like the size of it. It's a little. I got really used to it.
They're neck heavy, right?
They're neck heavy. Yeah. They tend to neck dive, and the positioning is kind of like this, almost like not quite as extreme as a Thunderbird. But
Telecaster's kind of like that too. You know what I mean? My Telecaster's out there a bit more. It feels like.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Yeah. Looking at the guitar, maybe not as much.
Yeah.
They do
I think looking at it,
everything looks scrunched up by the neck.
Yeah. The body on an SG is so small and so thin. And you can get so high up the neck that the neck feels like really long. So like my hand playing an open E chord would be out here, whereas on the PRS it'd be like here.
Yeah,
because it just sits differently on my body.
Very true. Yeah, I played a Japanese Jackson for a long time.
Oh yeah,
which is a longer scale. I think they're like I don't know. It's bigger than a Fender.
Okay.
So maybe it's like 20. Fender's 25 and a half. So I think they're maybe like 26 or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Pretty long. Maybe it's like 25 3/4, I think.
Okay.
But that is, when you're playing like E, F, or doing anything in like the key of B flat, and you're kind of doing runs, like you're like, whoa, I'm coming from way down.
Right.
Yeah. So I get that.
Yeah.
It's fun. I had one pedal question real quick before we plug some stuff in. So you're talking about the J Rockett. I was this way too, where I thought I was going to love the Archer. I just didn't. But there have been pedals, and I'm going to make a video about this, about a pedal I got recently, which I'll probably spoil here in like 2 seconds as we're talking about it. Has there ever been like a pedal or a piece of gear that you thought, I'm just not going to like this, but maybe you get it for a good deal, or you play one that a friend has and you actually fall in love with it? Has there ever been a piece of gear that you're like, I didn't think I was going to like that, but as soon as I plugged it in, like soon as I started playing through, I went, like that?
That's a good question. I don't know if I have one like that. I think most of the pedals I buy, I'm really an indecisive person. So like if I decide to buy a pedal, it's because I know, or at least I think I know that that's going to be my next big thing. So
you hope it's going to be.
I hope it's going to be. Yeah. It might be this way. I have one like that's like being shipped to my house. Like it should be here on Saturday. It's a Keeley fuzzbender.
Yeah.
And so I'm not really big on like spitty sounding kind of fuzzes.
So that's a 3 transistor tonebender type of thing.
And it'll go. It has a germanium and silicon transistors. So
there's some kind of weird like blend knob on there.
Yeah, that's what I was. So the blend knob, like I plan on just using it for the germanium side because that's sort of where I gravitate. But I have a feeling that I might find some real use out of the other side, like the spitty, like Velcro-y type sound. So we'll see how that goes. But I think most of the pedals I buy, like I do extensive research and like I watch all the videos 3 times that I can find on YouTube and all that.
Yeah, and I typically know like when I watch something on that pedal show, like I use them a ton, and I know that like typically if something sounds good with everything you put in mixed hands sounds amazing, right? But like I know that if he plays his Strat with this pedal, with his with his 2-rock an amp, that's a dream amp for me. I would love to have, was it their classic reverb or whatever, man? That's for me. That's like
I want one of their TS1s.
I'm not familiar with that.
It's like a kind of like an ODS, but not really. I'll send you this video of Matt Schofield and Josh Smith. They're playing like a shuffle each through those amps. Josh has his Telly and Matt has his like 61 Strat. Oh my gosh, I've watched it like
Josh Smith is a guy that you cannot watch him play a pedal and it sound good and you sound amazing and you go, I'm gonna sound just like that.
Right.
He's not that guy.
He does like,
it's crazy.
Yeah, he's pretty ridiculous.
He plays like gauge 13 strings.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, I think his signal chain is probably really, really hot. I have the Soloist, which is like the right side of the Duelist.
Yeah, the Duelist, yeah.
He runs that, the way that he runs that thing, the Soloist, I'm actually probably going to sell it soon.
Yeah.
Because it's an amazing, like, Dumble style kind of drive, but it doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
his sound, for whatever reason, I think it's probably because he runs his Fender style amps pretty cranked.
Yeah.
So they have that big tubey thing. So when he has a pedal that has a lot of high end, that's what really helps him cut. For me, I just know when I hear him play, I'm like, I can't trust that I'm gonna sound like that one.
Yeah, I saw him live at the Baked Potato, actually, out in California a few years ago, and it was so loud, but it wasn't like, it didn't hurt my ears. Like, it was loud and big.
That's how Marcus King is.
Yeah, he's like that too.
Yeah, where you're like, I've wondered, like, he has this big round tone. I just saw him last month. I saw him in Baltimore, Soundstage.
Yeah.
And he has this sound where I'm like, he has so much low end and so much warmth, a lot of low mids in his sound, but he cuts.
Yeah.
I don't know how he does
it. He cuts like crazy.
But it's great. It's a lot of warmth like that. Yeah. No, that's awesome. So for me, so you may find a piece of gear like that. What we'll probably do is I'll probably hook you up here.
Okay.
And dude, I've got so many toys around here in case you haven't.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. That we'll probably start out with some stuff. I want to hear you play the Blue Note. Okay. I'll probably put you on my the Third Power American Dream. So we'll do that, and then because I want to hear you through that amp with the Blue Note. I think that's that'll feel familiar to you, and then we'll just do whatever you want.
Cool.
Play around with some stuff.
Sounds good.
That being said, before I forget, when you get the fuzz bender, we may need to I may need to have you come back or come over to you and do one. Maybe we could combine our forces and do bring over my setup, because I know your guitar tone sounds amazing with your setup there.
Thank you.
So we might have to do that, and I'll bring the Sunbender.
Yes.
Because I've got the
dude. I was eyeing that,
and it's crazy. Even through the Kemper, you'll feel it. It feels like fuzz bender.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing as having the amp in the room. I always tell people that. Yeah. Don't expect for this to feel like when you turn on your Tone King and you're hearing the speaker with your ear.
Yeah.
Because what you're actually hearing is a really high quality signal chain. You're hearing the amp mic'd up with, I think he uses, I think a Royer 121 and a 57 or something, or a Fathead and a 57 or something. Okay. And so you're hearing a full signal chain, but still you'll hear it. It sounds like a guitar amp. So we'll get that. I want to put the One Note or the Blue Note on.
Okay.
And then So we are back. We put the Blue Note on the board.
Oh, the hot switch is up too, so you can.
It sounds really good.
Yeah. So you see how when it's down, it's real real subtle kind of.
That's pretty nuts. All right, I get that. All right, sweet.
Yeah.
Man, you're killing it, by the way. Great job.
Thank you.
All right, so I get that. Yeah, you could basically, and you're talking about, I totally get roll the big knobs especially. Did you have to put those on, or did it come like that?
No, it came like that.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
So I could totally see myself dragging my boot on the gain knob and just sort of pulling it up. Yeah, that makes sense. That's a cool, dude. I've actually never even seen that pedal before.
Yeah, it's not really well
probably because it's not. It's probably because it's not brand new.
Right.
You know? Not a whole lot of videos out there. That's great. Maybe that means it's a well-priced pedal and a fair priced pedal right now too. I'm a big fan of that. That's cool. All right, so we got that on there. I think that sounds great. So let's talk guitars for a second.
Sure.
So I wanted to ask you about this. So you are a PRS Pulse Artist, right? Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So I had two questions about that. How does PRS in this program support you as an artist?
Sure.
Right. And then what are they aiming to do for the brand through the program?
Yeah, so The second question is easier to answer. It's more like it's like a brand ambassador. So like,
okay,
they just they get publicity when we do stuff on the internet.
Right.
And so, but the first question is what I really appreciate about PRS. So they, aside from just like little discounts on things when we buy PRS gear, like my local dealer is cool too. So like my local dealer, before I moved closer down to here, it's a place called Ryan Fowler's Guitar Experience.
I love that store.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. He had a green Nash Strat there for like a long, you know the one I'm talking
played
about?
it, yeah.
Sparkle Strat.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, great shop. So so the relationship between the dealers and the players is just as important as the relationship between PRS and the players. So we partner with our local dealer, and they help us get stuff. Like he helped me order my Silver Sky, which is on the way. It won't be on the way for like until like April of next year. I had to wait a while.
Wow.
Yeah, they're super back ordered.
I've heard that. I mean, everybody's been getting into guitar and buying guitar gear throughout the pandemic.
So they publicize like what we're doing, like even sort of the smaller, more local artists who are just doing local gigs, or who are more focused on the internet space and just getting their music out that way. So they have profiles for a lot of the Pulse artists on the PRS website, and we've done some like magazine like profiles and stuff like that for different guitar magazines. So it's a real cool way to like get people who aren't like necessarily at rock star level more exposure, and to help them out with acquiring the gear they need. So
totally. I mean, that's cool though too. Like it probably could help you get gigs or land gigs too, if you're like, hey, you know, if they're, you know, you're reaching out to somebody that doesn't know you from Adam,
right? Exactly.
You know, just like, hey, yeah, I'm actually a PRS Pulse Artist, like you can check out some of my stuff I did with them here, and like that helps you a lot too, the credibility there.
And I was already a big fan of their stuff like before. Like this was one of my dream guitars, and I was fortunate enough to get my hands on it a few years ago. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and what you're saying, like, I'm not even like, you know, maybe if you're not at like huge rock star level yet. I think what you're talking about is like guitar players, like famous rock star guitar players. We were just talking about Marcus King as a younger guy. He's younger than me. He's like probably his mid-20s now or something.
Yeah, he's got to be like 24, 25.
Yeah, that's so stupid. It's crazy. But you know, like he's a rock star guitar player, right? But a lot of the professional guitar players, you know, they've been accompanying artists forever. Right. Yeah. And they may not even, you probably don't know who a lot of those people are. Like most people don't know, like pick your favorite artist, you know, like I follow Chris Raitt as an example. You know who he is? Plays Veritas guitars. He's Kelsey Ballerini's guitar player. Yeah. He's fantastic. Everybody knows Kelsey Ballerini. Probably not a lot of people know him.
Not her guitar player,
right? Yeah. So I hear you. So even having like any sort of, you know, sort of backing and sort of that accreditation almost, that's awesome. Be like, hey, I'm a PRS artist. So, all right. So what is this thing? Talk me through this guitar.
So this is a Paul Reed Smith McCarty 594 semi-hollow. So it's got the layout of a Les Paul. All the like promo videos and stuff talk about how Paul had a 59 Les Paul. Yeah. And he measured the scale length, and it wasn't like wasn't exactly
24.75.
Yeah, 24 and 3/4. Yeah. Right. And so it was a little shorter than that. It was 24.594
inches,
and that's where he got the name and all that. So, funny. It is pretty funny. I had my eye on PRS guitars for a little while. When I first saw them, I have a good friend, Jim Poggi. He plays in a band called Dead Eyes. They're like a pop punk sort of band, or pop punk metal, pop metal. Yeah, that's more like it. But he played PRS guitars for a long time, and I would always see him playing them. And I had the thing where like I always associated them with that sort of
with that genre. It was like orange amps too, were kind of like that. Yeah.
So I would see him. I knew they were based in Maryland. I would see him around. They were always so like pretty, and I was just like, I don't feel comfortable like playing something like that. Yeah. But when I finally like sat and played one, it was the first time the first time I played one was at Ryan Fowler's.
Yeah, nice.
And I sat and like picked one of these up, and I was like, whoa, like this feels amazing, and it's everything I like was missing in my SG.
Probably the playability. Right? The necks on these guitars are incredible.
When I got this and I started playing it at church, the bass player at my church was like, man, I could tell like your fingers are just gliding over the neck, because it's just like it's really effortless to play.
Yeah.
And I used to think that was like, I used to think it wasn't cool. I was of like the Jack White school, where you have to have a guitar that like you have to like beat it up in order to play it.
Yeah, and there is something to be said for a guitar that fights you a little bit.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. I have guitars like that, and so I'm fortunate enough to be able to go back and forth.
Right.
But this helps me get what I want to say, like musically, out the easiest. And so, so it's the layout of a Les Paul. So volume, tone. These pickups are 5815 LTs, so they're pretty low output.
Yeah, I saw that. So
humbuckers.
So I've played the 50. I'm really intrigued because I've played the 5815 LTs. I want to say they have those in the special 22s.
And the special 22s, they have.
Did they ever have the 15s?
MTs. They have 5815 MTs. So I think that I think there's like. I want to say I've seen some with the LTs and some with MTs.
LT is for low turn, right?
Low turn, yeah. I guess MT is like middle turn.
I've never played a semi-hollow PRS with them, but I don't think it was a 594. It might have been a 22, but it had the LTs in it. But even in that guitar, they were a little more modern voiced, I guess you'd say, or something. A little more high end presence, that kind of thing. But it sound from like you playing just now, like they don't. It sounds incredible. They're not as they're a lot more warm than I remember.
And warmth is what I like the most in a guitar. They're really like touch sensitive, which I like. I couldn't get that out of my SG. It was almost like there was like a compression with the SG because they were like higher output pickups.
Right.
And I couldn't like get it to just be more delicate. And so I don't know what else. It's semi-hollow, so it's super light. Paul signed it on the back when I met him.
I was there, remember?
Yeah.
That was one of the first times we met, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
That was at their 2020 release, maybe 2019 release.
Yeah, It was definitely 2019 because it was before everything went. Yeah.
Before there was an entire year that's just a black hole.
Right.
So the 2019 release at Chuck's.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chuck Levin's. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So play me something that's typical for you, like walk me through like bridge, middle, neck position kind of thing.
Sure. So
I think we still have some volume. Yeah.
Yep. So on the neck, I'll play. I don't know if I'm playing like. We'll play this song called "Before I Let You Go," the Blackstreet song.
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll play. So I tend to live like on the neck pickup.
Yeah. Sounds great, dude.
Thank you. And then I like to swell a lot, so.
And their knobs are so comfortable for that.
They are. They're super
so more
smooth.
Usable.
Yeah. So like if I'm playing something and I have just a little too much high end, I won't even touch the tone. Like I'll just roll this back to 9.
I like that because you get some of the clarity too. Like that's a trick. That's a famous. Mainly a Strat player, and that's the famous Strat player trick. Is you're in 4 bars, you might you know, in the middle of the third, or like starting that second half of that phrasing, kick it down the bridge and get the extra high end, the extra bite and clarity. That almost just did it, just rolling up, you know, being able to crank your volume up and kind of get that.
Yeah, so I've found that these volumes, just the knobs in general, are like infinitely more usable to me than
most other guitars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the neck sound.
Yeah. Do you use the middle much? I'm actually a huge fan of the middle position, especially for lead.
Yeah, so I'll use the middle for more ambient stuff. Yeah.
So, So right there, I was just cranking up I'm a big fan of that delay for that lo-fi sound, but that's what I would use that for, like middle position kind of.
Yeah, and or if I'm playing something funky. So I was playing like or something, clean it up.
It's super useful too because exactly. I was gonna say the exact same thing.
Sometimes I'll even just stay in the middle and I'll roll, if I want the neck sound, I'll roll the bridge down a little bit. So I've got, that's still in the middle.
Right.
And then if I want the opposite.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's real crazy. That's almost like it's not like a Telecaster kind of thing, but it almost gives you that Telecaster real powerful bridge.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of people say like, oh, the best Les Pauls are just like fat tellies, and that's what I feel about this one. It's where like it's super simple to use, and I get that like, and it has coil splits or coil taps. I can't remember which one, but it's actually pretty useful. And it actually sounds
not
like
much volume loss either.
Right. Yeah. And the neck I like to use too.
I like that. Again, you're not gonna get like a Strat neck tone out of
it. It's not gonna sound like that.
It's not the point.
Yeah, it's useful on a gig or at church or something like that.
Yeah.
And what I like to do most with that is I'll take the neck and make it a single coil and put it in the middle with the bridge.
Interesting. You're just sort of warming up the bridge a little bit.
Right, exactly. So yeah, it sounds good in pretty much any position.
It sounds good in everything you've played it in so far, right?
Yeah.
It's a tool that you can kind of do anything you want.
I can do pretty much anything. I'm missing my little like whammy bar swells, but I don't really need that. It's sort of gratuitous, and I was using it way too much.
Dude,
on the other guitar.
I totally hear you. Hear you. So being a Strat player, I think when I was not as as I was learning how to do more melodic lead stuff, I think that my brain would want to close the thought. So you're talking about this guitar being sort of what I heard you say, I think, is like, it's like a white canvas, it's a blank slate for whatever. It just lets you put down whatever is in your mind, whether that is, it's something that you want to play that's complex. It plays well enough to let you do that, or obviously playing simple. And I hear what you mean about the scale length being perfect too, because it's smaller than a Fender and it feels that way. You know, it just feels like the whole range. I try to play more like this than like this.
Exactly.
And so I find on my PRS, it's so easy. It's so effortlessly, like, it's just so simple to kind of just glide up like this, as opposed to, jumping position to position.
Yep.
But but tonally too, it's like if I kind of want like a telly bridge, because you could do the opposite of that. You could split the bridge and do almost like a middle position on a 72 type of neck humbucker. Yeah, exactly. Yep, exactly. That's pretty cool. I like that. I'll be honest, I did not think, I traditionally do not like PRS coil tapping very much.
Yeah.
I don't.
I had it on my Gibson, and it was usable, but it wasn't great.
No, that's probably even worse.
I rarely ever used it.
I fell in love with what is the PRS? Is it the 308 or the 508?
The 508. Yeah.
The 508.
There's a 408 and the 511 or something like that.
513. 513.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So must have been a 408. Mm-hmm. I felt the same way you did the first time you played this guitar, where the neck felt amazing. It was like I remember being like, this is like playing a cloud.
Right.
That's what it felt like.
And it's not a thin neck. Like I don't like the custom 22 and the custom 24. I don't like those necks. There's just nothing there to
the
grip.
Custom 24 especially. It's too thin. The 22s have a little more. Some of them have a little more thickness to them. But no, I'm surprised how good the quill tapping sounds on that guitar.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I like it.
I don't know. I only have one guitar that quill taps decent, and it's the Cower I have. The Cower T-style guitar.
Yeah.
Actually is very similar, kind of. It's more usable. But that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. All right. So let's do this. I want you to play this guy.
Okay.
But, so play this guy.
All right, this is a hefty boy.
Oh, it is. Yeah. So you talked about Paul having that 59 Les Paul and basically starting to try to
Yeah.
So if I'm not mistaken, his whole experiment with that kind of started with these. This is an SC58.
Yep. Okay.
So that's the stripped model, because it doesn't have like a 10 top. Like this area is kind of whatever, which I don't really care. Your guitar is gorgeous. I would prefer to have a top like that.
It's not even a 10 top. I just got lucky.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks amazing.
Thank you.
But this thing, it's just a 58 stripped. Still has the locking tuners and stuff, which is great. But this is, I believe, Ted McCarty, who was the longtime CEO of Gibson, and brought the Les Paul to life as we know it.
The Les Pauls, the 335, all of that, all the good stuff. So
he and Paul Reed Smith got together and said, what if, this was 2011 when they came out, 2010, 2011, he was like, so what if we were to try to build a 1958 Les Paul today?
Okay.
And that's what this is what they came up with.
Okay.
So give it a run.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm interested to hear it.
I don't know how old the strings are on that thing. Probably a little bit torn up, but this is much more of a Les Paul. But I find this much more usable still. You got the volume way rolled down.
Which one's the? Okay.
Yeah, it's got the. Sustains it. Yeah, roll it back. Like, a little less of that.
I dig it.
Much like I suspected, the guitar still sounds like you when you play. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see that.
That's one thing I like about guitars. Like I mentioned this with Josh Smith a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
But like, you listen to folks. Josh Smith is going to sound like Josh Smith whenever he picks up a guitar, and I definitely feel with you it's definitely the same way. I'm like, oh yeah, my Les Paul doesn't really sound like that when I play it.
Right.
It sounds a little different, but yeah, man. I was curious to hear how different it is than that, but I think that it sounds like to me, to my ear, the 594 semi-hollow specifically. I bet the non-semi-hollow, they're probably a lot less similar.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you played the non-semi-hollow.
Yeah, the non-semi-hollow, it's a little, there's a little different like mid-range to it from what I remember, and it's this one's feels and sounds beefier.
Yeah.
Especially on the neck pickup.
Yeah, it has the thumpy bass of a Les Paul, which I like a lot.
Exactly.
I do a lot of that. Like, here, let me see this thing. So I like it for that because it's got that big thickness, that kind of body to it. But I'm kind of impressed, man. The 594 has a lot more, because I've played the non-semi-hollow version, and that may be it. But I'm surprised. It sounds a lot different than I would have anticipated. Yeah. Because I've always thought, for me, honestly, I probably wouldn't have this and have a 594.
Sure.
Because I only want to have as many guitars as I kind of naturally will rotate them and whatever. But I've always thought, I can't have a special 22. Right. As much a DGT is on my list. I would love to have a DGT, but it wouldn't replace this.
Right. Yeah.
That guitar almost probably could in a lot of ways. So it makes sense that that's your number one, because that's just it does everything. It does it really well. You want to plug the tone bender in real fast?
Yes.
All right, so let's do that real quick.
Okay.
All right, sweet. So let's hope that the battery works on this thing.
Okay.
Let's hope that the battery works and everything should be good. It's not totally dead. You ready? Mm-hmm. So you have to turn the fuzz all the way up on a tone bender. That's the thing that you have to do. Okay. Just crank it. I think we'll start with it there. About 9. It will clean up okay too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. That's sick.
What do you think about that?
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that crazy?
That's amazing. That sounds so good.
Yeah, Amanda bought me this for my birthday.
Is there much of a wait list for those?
I wouldn't say there's a wait list.
Okay.
It took a while to get it.
Okay.
It took me 5 weeks or 6 weeks or something to get it, which it really isn't that long. Maybe a little longer. But it was during COVID. She bought it for me my birthday in 2020. But I think they have one guy that builds them, and it's not Mike.
Oh, it's not Mike?
No, I think somebody else. They have another person that apparently with germanium circuits, it's apparently they're really hard to build.
Oh, they're ridiculously hard.
Not even talking about my mic, you can't hear what I'm saying at all.
I don't even mean I don't mean hard to build just because the I'm not talking about how the components you have to test them and all that stuff. So probably 1 out of every 3 germanium transistors will be in a usable range, and they'll kind of have to pair them together and stuff. I'm not even talking about that. Apparently, just working with germanium's really tough. Wow. I don't know. So the way that they, apparently they have one guy there that like builds them, and they're like, yeah, he's been really backed up. So it took me like 6-7 weeks. But wow. It's crazy, man.
Oh man, I'm gassing now.
Yeah, I think we'll see what's up with the fuzz bender.
I'm curious to see how it compares.
This is like the Ferrari of course, germanium, like tonebender type of things, right? But
so you have to make sure the temperature is cool, like when
you can't play it at a summer festival, right? Like it's not going to work. You might, but you could play the fuzzbender probably, and then just like work it. Yeah, if the germanium's acting up, just
Yeah, and I have the golden fleece. That's all silicon, so
oh cool.
Yeah, that'll work whenever.
Yeah, so you're good to go.
Yeah. It will pick up radio frequencies though.
Nice.
Yeah.
The fuzz pedals like to do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's funny. So why don't we do this? Why don't when your fuzzbender gets here, get used to it, and we'll do one together and kind of bring some fuzzes. I have some other stuff. I've got like the broadcast, which is germanium. Yeah. Thing's sick. Yeah, it's sick. It's basically like a preamp with a built-in fuzz pedal. Is the way that I use it anyway. It's pretty nice. So we can play around with that too. But Keeley, for the longest time, I was not a huge Keeley fan.
I haven't owned any Keeley pedals, like, ever.
So I owned what I thought they were, like, known for is, like, their thing. I owned the compressor. Right, I had a 2-knob and the 4-knob. Mm-hmm. And the 2-knob was actually pretty good, but still kind of colored the tone a little too much. Mm-hmm. It, like, the picking dynamics, I don't want everything crazy level. Right. That's kind of the point.
Yeah.
So those pedals, they work for, I hear a ton of people use them that sound great. That's awesome. They just didn't work for me.
Yeah. I had I think it was a Boss compressor, and I bought it because I'm a massive Chili Peppers fan.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, what does Frusciante like use? Like, what does he have on his board? So he's got like the DS1 or something like that, the distortion, and I know he's known for using a compressor.
Was it the compressor sustainer? That pedal? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah.
So that's exactly the blue one. Is what I had. Yeah. Yep. And I was like, okay, let me just get that and see if I can use it. I had like a tube screamer at the time or whatever, and I just
ultra squash.
Could not stand it. I was like, I think that's the one. You were asking me like which pedal I bought that I thought was gonna be great. Yeah. I was like, man, this is garbage, and I sold it like within 3 days. I was just like, I don't want this. I don't need this. Like, it's not working. And like you said, like I do all the work with my fingers. Like, I don't need a pedal to like tell me how my dynamics are gonna be.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Sometimes it definitely has a place, but like compressors, whatever. But anyway, with Keeley, those were my first 2 impressions, and so I just thought like, man, Keeley pedals just must not be for me. I think I played like an overdrive or something. Oh, I played like a katana, and the katanas are great. They're great. But it almost still like took my tone and did things I didn't like.
Right.
That's why I was so surprised when I took a chance on the D&M drive. And it's like, it feels kind of like whatever, cliche, like, because it's like that pedal show, but it's legitimately in its own right, it is an amazing pedal, especially for the value. It's crazy.
From what I can tell, like, it sounds amazing.
And that boost as like an always on, and then the dirt channel, it's crazy. It's a whole dirt circuit in there. It's awesome. So then I was like, because I had an impression in my head like, Keeley stuff, there's always something in the sound that I can't get rid of. Like, it's just always there when I play their pedals. From playing 2 compressors in a dirt, because apparently that was like enough to make a just generalization about the whole company, because I'm stupid like that. But the D&M drive, I was incredibly impressed with.
Nice.
And so now I'm sort of like starting to look at a lot of the Keeley stuff that I've always kind of just like ignored. So
I had my eye on the Monterey like modulation and fuzz for a while, and I still want like a legitimate not a real like vintage it's not a Leslie, but the one that was
the Univibe.
Univibe. I have the MXR Univibe, like the little
dude
one.
You know what you should get?
What's that?
Also super cheap because people don't really care for them. Earthquaker Devices, the Depths.
Okay.
It's green. You can get them for like $110.
Okay.
and they're crazy good.
Is it Univibe or
yeah, it's a Univibe.
Okay,
it's just Univibe. But I used to play in a band that covered U2 Elevation, that and I had to set the rate knob every time we played the song, because it got, and I mean, not even like sound check. I feel like from kicking my board and kicking pedals on or whatever, it would just get slightly out. Yeah. And for that particular one, like I needed the rate to be perfect, and especially because I don't know what rate the drummer's going to start it at. Yeah. So I had that thing, and I used it literally pretty much for that sound, that real crazy, like real just like yelly and riffy kind of like really in your face Univibe. But it also does a like low key color on top Univibe type of sound. Strongly recommend getting your hands on one of those, because you can get them for cheap. I couldn't give mine away. It was so annoying. I went to like, because you go through phases where you sell all your pedals and you buy pedals and you sell them all again, and so that went with my last big like I'm getting rid of everything. And sometimes I'm like, I kind of wish I still. I might have to look for one, because they're really great. I think you should get your hands on one.
Walrus Audio?
No, it was Earthquaker Devices. The Depths. It has like some kind of weird, sea creature on it. Okay. I think it's like some big like octopus looking thing. It's pretty awesome. Great pedal.
I'll check it out.
So, but anyway, so we'll get together. We'll do the fuzz bender thing. Yeah. Or the tone bender thing with the fuzz bender, which is like a tone bender, their take on it or whatever. Yeah. And we'll have to do that.
That'll be fun.
So, yeah, man, that's kind of it. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me, man. This was a lot of fun.
Hopefully it was fun. Yeah. Yeah, I like these, just getting to like chat with people, see how the gear they use, kind of how they approach music. So I learned a lot about you too, and about kind of your approach to things. So it's awesome.
Good.
Thanks so much for coming, dude. All right. That's it.